As Kantaki's father said the words, it filled Kantaki's heart with joy. His father's acknowledgement of his skills, telling him that all of his effort had meaning. It filled him with a great sense of pride. But there was also fear. Just as the feeling of joy began to set in, so too did the fear. Dad? Kantaki said, looking at his father with concern. Don't you think that maybe this is a little too soon? I mean, maybe you should still go yourself. Just let me go next year, or maybe the year after that. I'm just not sure if I'm ready, Kantaki said, though in truth, he wasn't telling his parents the real reason for his fear. Kantaki had never left the secluded home in which he lived. Their home was a very quiet place, where very few traveled, and Kantaki had long suspected that in places of greater population, there might also be a greater number of Kantakis, and Tokyo was the biggest city in all of Japan. Kantaki was afraid that with this journey to Tokyo, it would also massively increase the number of confrontations he would have with others. Before he found out about this unique position that he was in, he dreamed of the outside world, of traveling to places beyond his small home. But now, all it offered him was fright. Son, you mustn't be so hesitant. I assure you I wouldn't send you if I didn't think you were ready, his father replied. Yes, Kantaki, his mother added as she approached, carrying the first of the portions for their meal for the day. Your fireworks are spectacular, son. You don't have anything to worry about. Even if you don't get crowned Grand Master of all fireworks in Japan, I assure you, you will still have a home here. But have faith, son. You are skilled, and when you demonstrate those skills to others, it will bring great prosperity to our family. Those who do well in the fireworks challenge receive countless orders from people all across Japan. It is a great boon to our family to compete, and your father and I are certain that you will do well. We have faith in you, son. For a moment, Kantaki considered telling them the truth, why he truly didn't want to go to Tokyo. But as they all smiled and reassured him, he found it impossible to do so. Yes, Mother, I understand. I guess I just gotta get rid of that doubt, huh? Now that sounds like a plan, Kantaki's mother said as she placed down the food she was carrying, walking over and giving Kantaki a gentle hug and kiss on the cheek. Now, sit down and have yourself a nice meal. The tournament is in a few weeks, so you're going to need to get your collection of fireworks ready. And I expect you to give it your best and knock those judges right out of their sandals, his mother said, giving him a warm smile. Yes, of course. I'll blow them away. Not literally, of course, Kantaki said, as he sat down and began to enjoy yet another quiet meal with his family. They spent some time eating their food, freshly cooked rice balls, along with deviled dumplings made from fresh octopus that his mother had purchased from market just recently as a treat, a special meal, as they had been planning to inform Kantaki of his new position as their family's official representative for the Grand Fireworks Tournament. As usual, the meal was delicious, and after a good deal of talking and smiling, laughter and enjoyment of family time, Kantaki eventually found his way back into the fireworks shack that they had affixed to their home, where he began preparing the ingredients for more fireworks. Kantaki did have to, of course, make more fireworks for the tournament. However, he also knew that he had to make a great deal more for combat. So, with a solemn expression on his face, he got to work dividing up all of the numerous ingredients that he would need for the production of these fireworks, both the ones for entertainment and the ones for war. At this point, Kantaki performed the task expertly. He had gotten a great deal of experience in these matters, and despite the uses that he had to put some of his fireworks to, Kantaki always enjoyed the work itself, the artistry, the craft of fireworks making. There he spent several hours toiling away, trying to prepare as many of the ingredients as he could, at least getting the base levels produced for his fireworks, which did take a great deal of time, as the crafting of truly impressive fireworks was far more art than science. So, staying up much longer than he usually would, but finally beginning to grow weary, Kantaki left the preparations that he had set, going back into his home in hopes of getting some much-needed rest. There he found the empty living space of the front room. Kantaki was tired, but for whatever the reason, found himself unable to simply waltz in and go to bed, taking a seat in front of the table. The living space was fairly dark at this point in time, only a low flickering firelight offering any sort of illumination. As Kantaki heard footsteps, looking up from the table to see his father walking out of his room. Hello, Father," Kantaki said, trying to brush himself off a bit, as he was still plenty dirty from working with all of the fireworks ingredients. "Well, no need to look proper, son. You're in home. You can always bathe tomorrow," his father said, as he sat down at the table across from him, holding a gourd, which he took a sip from, before handing it in Kantaki's direction. "Go on. Have some," his father said, smiling warmly. I guess," Kantaki said, as he grabbed the gourd, tipping it back and taking a drink. As expected, it was wine. His father was always a fan of wine, and usually kept some around the house. It was fairly strong stuff, Kantaki thought to himself as he finished drinking, breathing heavy for a moment as he lowered the gourd. A hard day's work and a strong drink to enjoy at the end. There's not much more that a man can ask for out of life. Well, except a woman to share it with. Mine's currently sleeping, though. I figured you could use something to relax. You've been working awful hard, son. And I noticed you seemed a bit worried when I told you you were going to the tournament instead of me. Your mom just thinks you're nervous, but I have a feeling that there's something more to it. A father can tell these things about his son, you know," Kantaki's father said, as he took the gourd, taking another swig. "So, you gonna tell your father about it, or am I gonna have to pry it out of you?" For a moment, Kantaki sat quietly, thinking it over as he stared down at the table in front of him. "Dad, you know that the fireworks that we make, they can be dangerous, right?" "Well, of course, son. That's why I already told you that safety comes first. A man has to understand a lot in order to produce fireworks safely." "Yeah, Dad, I know. But let me ask you something. What if someone were to use fireworks to create weapons? What would you think about that?" Kaneki said as he looked up to his father, feeling somewhat concerned about whether his father would question his activities. "Oh, so you mean like your grandfather, huh?" "What? Grandfather?" Kaneki replied, looking to his father curiously. "You've never mentioned grandfather." "Yeah," Kaneki's father replied. "Your grandfather was around during the last war that raged all throughout Japan. And back then, us fireworks experts were used quite differently. Rather than creating beauty and art, we were contracted as soldiers like everyone else. Soldiers with a very special skill set. We made weapons, or more specifically, your grandfather made weapons. He fought for the army of the current ruling imperial family, and helped them win the war, which has brought about the state that we now have in Japan. And your grandfather used to tell me tales about what life was like for fireworks makers before the age we now live in. Because long before fireworks were ever meant to create beauty and enjoyment for others, they were a weapon, son. Created for the purpose of killing others. It was only because of, an accident in which some ingredients got crossed that someone had the idea to turn it into something peaceful. And in doing so, after all of the bloodshed and death was over, us fireworks experts found a new craft outside of killing people. A way to bring happiness and joy to the world, rather than just death. But always remember this, son. As beautiful as fireworks are, never forget that within the heart of every fireworks maker beats the heart of a warrior. You wield fireworks. Fireworks are a weapon. In essence, they're no different from a samurai or a ninja. They wield their weapons, and we wield ours. I don't want you to get the wrong idea. I don't ever want to have to kill anyone. But if it came right down to it, to protecting your life, your mother's life, the lives of the people that I care about, then I would wake that warrior up, tell him to get off his ass, because he's needed. Though we have turned our art into something beautiful, never forget, our art is also our weapon. If it ever becomes necessary, don't you dare be afraid to use it to protect yourself," his father said, as he gave him a stern glance. "Well, I guess that's enough chitter-chatter. I should probably get my old self to sleep. You should try to do the same. After all, you've got a tournament to prepare for," his father said, as he got up and began making his way back towards his room.